His is what life was like in 1492, the year that changed history forever. A new flag, where yours hung, a rider brings an order, weeks to choose your faith and future. In the South, war ends. Some cheer, others fall silent. At the harbor, 3 ships slip into water, and the map blurs. Your name feels heavy. Your door feels thin. Stay to see the 3 moves, their price, and how they shape your day. Picture Europe in the late 15th century. Power is a chessboard, pieces sliding after a century of plague and war. You live where 2 crowns have just become one household. On screen, write this date, 1469. Isabella of Castile marries Ferdinand of Aragon. From then on, the phrase you hear in markets and monasteries is Catholic monarchs. 2 treasuries, 2 councils, 1 agenda, order at home, expansion abroad. North, France heals from the 100 Years' War and flexes. East, the Ottoman Empire drums at full strength, holding Constantinople since 1453 and pressing into the Mediterranean. Italian city-states glitter yet scheme. Presses chatter across the Rhine, turning rumor into movement. Gold is scarce, spices are dear, and everyone hunts new routes and new taxes. Zoom back to Iberia. It is a mosaic. Castilian wheat and merino wool move on dusty roads towards Seville. Aragon's ships work Mediterranean lanes. In the south stands the Nasrid Emirate of Granada, last Muslim polity on the peninsula, paying tribute to Castile while guarding passes and orange groves. In your town you hear Arabic in the market, Hebrew in the counting house, Latin in the chapter hall, and a new stern Castilian in royal edicts. Diversity is ordinary. Anxiety is rising. The royal project you feel in your bones has 2 pillars. Unify the land under one faith, push outward to pay for it. New courts tighten law. The Inquisition grows teeth, asking what you believe behind closed doors. Fortresses are repaired. Ledgers track grain, cannon, and loans from banking families who expect repayment with interest or privilege. Write another date, 1482. The long war for Granada begins. As it grinds on, you notice prices climb, sermons sharpen, and the idea of unity harden into policy. When victory comes, which doors open, and for whom will they close? On screen, write the date, January 2nd, 1492. You stand on the road to Granada as drums roll and winter air bites. For 10 grinding years, the war has chewed towns and orchards. Now the last emir, Boabdil, rides out in black. In his hands, a key heavier than iron. He offers it to Isabella and Ferdinand. Courtiers murmur. Scribes lean in. A chronicler will call it the key to Spain. Look up. Over the red walls of the Alhambra, new colors rise, the royal cross, the banners of Castile and Aragon. The pomegranate emblem appears on shields and coins, a pun turned policy, Granada, grana, the fruit split, seeds like rubies. The image travels on standards in sermons on the front page of Memory. The message is simple, unity achieved, victory blessed. You read the capitulations of Granada, a treaty that promises protection. Muslims may keep property laws, customs, and faith. Mosques will stand. Judges will sit. No one will be forced to convert. It sounds almost generous after a decade of siege. Families breathe. Merchants count. Artisans keep their tools. The city exhales. Then watch promises bend in practice. New officials arrive. Convents claim houses near the palace. Priests preach against old rites. Taxes shift. Suspicion thickens. Within a few years, pressure hardens into policy. Baptism becomes the safer path. The word Morisco begins to haunt the streets, marking converts never fully trusted. The treaty fades into a memory lawyer's sight, and soldiers ignore. Propaganda blooms as fast as orange trees in spring. Poets praise the Catholic monarchs as restorers. Painters set a silver key on a cushion. New coins carry the yoke and arrows, initials hinting at order and force. Royal entries stage unity as theater. Velvet incense rehearsed mercy. You feel the thrill of triumph and the chill beneath it. If the last Muslim kingdom can yield in winter, what else can a decree decide when the weather turns? Your neighbor says the war is over. Your priest says the true work begins. At court, another document is already drafted, one that will test unity again and turn crowds into caravans. On screen, write the date, March 31st, 1492. A new parchment leaves the royal camp at Santa Fe. Its spine reads in the plaza, All Jews must leave Castile and Aragon by midsummer, unless they convert. Take no gold, no silver, no coined money. Sell what you own, settle debts, choose. Unity now has a deadline. Listen as the market changes pitch. Inns fill with appraisers. Tables sag under candlesticks, tools, prayer books. Buyers haggle low because time is their ally. A dowry chest trades for a mule. A vineyard becomes a bundle of wool and a promise that won't be honored. In offices, notaries stamp receipts while eyes avoid eyes. Friends whisper apologies. Strangers practice indifference. Your neighbor Raquel counts children and loaves. Your colleague Isaac, a physician, decides to stay and be baptized to keep his patients and his books. He will be called a new Christian now, watched by old neighbors and new officers. If you are leaving, you wrap a marriage contract in oilcloth, sew coins into seams where the law won't find them, and choose a road that feels less like goodbye. Show a map. Arrows fork from Burgos and Toledo to the ports of Cartagena, Valencia, Barcelona. From Seville and Cádiz to the Maghreb, Oran, Fez, Tlemcen, where some gates open and some fists close. Others turn toward Portugal, a narrow respite that will later vanish. Many cross to Naples, Pisa, or the Ottoman lands, Salonika, Istanbul, where a sultan is said to smile at Spain's folly, losing treasure it cannot count. New streets learn new words. Ladino songs float at dusk, contracts mix Hebrew, Spanish, and Greek, and recipes carry an old home into new kitchens. What leaves with them? Tax farmers who kept ledgers honest, translators who bridged Arabic, Latin, and Castilian, physicians with long memories of herbs and humors, weavers and silversmiths whose hands shaped local pride, printers, poets, philosophers who fed a centuries-long conversation. What stays behind? Houses with shuttered windows, shops with erased names, a quieter marketplace that calls itself purified and discovers it is poorer. On screen, note the numbers as a range, because even tallies are contested. Tens of thousands move in lines from May to August. Streets remember the sound of wheels. Children remember the taste of dust. Sermons call it cleansing. Contracts call it opportunity. Diaries call it loss. Before the decree's echo fades, another negotiation tightens at Santa Fe. An Italian navigator keeps knocking on the same door, promising islands of spice and a route that dodges rivals. While carts creak toward the frontiers, 3 ships take shape on a western river, carrying a different kind of risk. On screen, write the date, April 17, 1492. In the siege camp of Santa Fe, tents still smell of smoke and horse as the Santa Fe capitulations are signed. Read the clauses. Christopher Columbus will be admiral of the ocean sea, viceroy over whatever he finds, and entitled to 1/10 of profits from lands on no ledger. It reads like a contract with the horizon. Note the names who vouch for him: friars, courtiers, Genoese bankers, the Pinzon brothers from Palos, who will steady both ships and nerves. Cut to the river town, Palos de la Frontera, summer heat. Carpenters caulk seams with oakum and pitch. Barrels roll, hardtack, salted pork, chickpeas, water, wine, loaded beside compass, quadrant, astrolabe, and letters of friendship to imagined kings. 3 hulls crouch in the shallows: Nina, Pinta, Santa Maria, the largest and slowest, Columbus's chosen flagship. He prays, he calculates. He sells a simple idea with grand certainty: sail west to reach the east before the Portuguese do on screen. Write the date, August 3rd, 1492. Lines cast off. Tar and dawn in your mouth. The ships slip past Huelva to the open Atlantic, then south to the Canaries for repair and wind. There's a rudder crisis, a bad omen. Columbus rewrites his log as he goes, shaving miles to soothe the crew. Patience thins like rope in salt. Now the emptiness, a restless heave. Flying fish skim. Sargasso mats gather like floating cemeteries. The compass needle drifts, variation, whispered, as sorcery by men who dislike the look in their captain's eyes. Days stack. September becomes a rumor. You mark small signs: weed, a carved stick, a bird too far from land. Each sign paraded as proof, each sunset a threat. Tension hardens into talk. On deck, mutiny is named without spare breath. Turn back or throw him over. Columbus bargains 3 more days. He sweetens it with gold and fame, glory a sailor can hold. He points at the sky, counts birds, swears the swell is different. He is right, or about to be very wrong. On screen, write the date, night of October 11th, 1492. The Pinta in the dark. A lookout, Rodrigo de Triana, shouts into wind that tastes of fresh soil. Land, lanterns answer. Prayers tumble over cheers. Columbus kneels. In his mind, Asia, underfoot the Bahamas. Oars splash toward a beach where voices already live, and a new vocabulary is about to be forced into mouths. First footprints dry under a rising sun, and the map inside Europe tilts. On screen, write the dates. 1493, 1494. News outruns charts. Papal bulls draw a meridian on water. First a donation, then a correction, granting Castile rights west, Portugal east. A year later, the Treaty of Tordesillas shifts the line 370 leagues west of Cape Verde. Two signatures redraw futures they have not seen. The map creaks. Lisbon looks to Africa, and a sliver of Brazil it will soon claim. Seville starts to think like a port that owns horizons. Cut to the Caribbean. Columbus names and claims. Hispaniola gleams in his reports, green and gold. In reality, it is villages, gardens, words. Taino caciques meet emissaries wrapped in iron and certainty. First gifts. Soon, demands. Arawakan greetings turn to tally marks. On screen, write the quota. A hawksbell of gold dust or labor in mines and fields. Resistance answers. Reprisals follow. Disease arrives without negotiation. Smallpox, measles, influenza. Populations fall in plunges no ledger can agree on. All agree on the scale. Catastrophic within a lifetime. The shock rebounds to Europe. Prices whisper of new silver. Young men talk of passages and patents. In towns, artisans adapt to Atlantic needs. Barrels, sails, iron for shackles and plow. In pulpits, sermons braid providence with profit. Your cousin writes from Seville that a new office will soon regulate the ocean like a road. Your neighbor wonders whether God's will can be measured in ingots. Shift the lens to Africa. This story did not begin in 1492. Portuguese ships had worked the coast for decades, trading pepper, gold, and people. São Tomé's sugar mills already bit into enslaved labor. The Caribbean's hunger scales the trade. As local labor collapses under disease and coercion, officials petition for licenses to import captives from West Africa. The triangle closes, cloth, metal, guns out, bodies across, sugar and dieback. On deck, a new silence, holds where language is stripped and renamed, binary contrasts sharpen the frame. Claimed paradise, measured hell, crosses planted, villages emptied, lines on maps, lives off ledgers. The Atlantic, once a rim, becomes a center of accounting and grief. A single year prees open a door others will widen into a system. Before the century ends, Tordesillas' line will meet a Portuguese coast no Castilian meant to cede. Potosi silver will flood markets, and words like encomienda and asiento will turn suffering into paperwork. The echo of 1492 is not only louder, it is organized. Bring the camera down from thrones to kitchens and benches. What changes for you after 1492? Food. On screen, two lists split the frame. Before, wheat bread if you can afford it, barley or rye if you cannot. Olive oil in the south, pork where allowed, chickpeas, onions, watered wine, almonds on feast days. After, an Atlantic pantry opens. First in whispers, cassava on Hispaniola, later maize porridge and tomatoes in Iberian gardens, cacao as a bitter curiosity. In reverse, pigs, cattle, and wheat go west and trample new fields. In 1493, your soup still tastes the same, but the century's cookbook is being rewritten. Money. On screen, maravedis, reales, ducados. You count in copper and silver. Gold is a rumor in your purse. After Granada's fall, new motifs, yoke, arrows, pomegranate, remind you who rules your pocket. In Seville, brokers already speak of contracts tied to cargo you cannot see, insurance for storms you'll never sail. Bread, rent, lamp oil begin to depend on winds across an ocean, time and health. On screen, a sober range. Life expectancy at birth hovers in the 30s to 40s. Reach adulthood, and you might see 60. Hazards are ordinary but relentless. Fever, childbirth, infection, lean years. After 1492, some places swell with newcomers and new pathogens. Ports pulse with opportunity and risk. You still measure life by saints' days and harvests, now also by fleets and decrees, religion and pressure. Before, a patchwork lived in practice. Church bells, mosque courtyards, synagogues, behind markets, oaths kept across lines because neighbors share wells. After, the Inquisition's presence grows. On screen, the words converso and morisco. You learn to answer carefully. Fasting, Friday meat, the way you wash before prayer, each becomes a test. Unity is not just a banner over a city, it is scrutiny over your table. Work. If you shear sheep, the wool trade still feeds you, but taxes and tolls bite deeper to pay for war and voyages. If you sail, demand rises, more hulls, more hands, and so does danger. If you write for a living, scribe, notary, the paper age accelerates. Treaties, licenses, inquisitorial records, shipping manifests. Paper fattens as bodies thin. The deepest contrast is this. In 1492, you still think the world's edge lies east of the Canary Current. By 1495, you suspect the edge has moved and that your wage, your bread, and your prayer now sit on a table with one leg in the Atlantic. The map has shifted. Your mornings have, too. Now step back and listen to the echo of 1492 in your chest. A city is taken with ceremony and song. A people is pushed to the frontier under a ticking clock. 3 small ships press west and open a corridor that will carry prayers and prophets, and also chains and graves. Unity is claimed. Expansion is celebrated. The bill arrives in human lives. Hold 2 truths at once. The drive for order can build roads and laws. The desire for glory can fund maps and ships. The same project can burn libraries, rename neighbors, and turn faith into a weapon that never cools. Look again at the Silver Key in Granada. It promises peace and signals pressure. Look again at the expulsion decree. It speaks purity while it empties homes by the thousands. Look again at landfall. Discovery for one shore is disruption for another. This is the grammar of 1492. Zoom into the ordinary face. A mother hides a ring in her child's hem. A sailor lies awake because the compass flinched. A scribe copies a treaty by candlelight and wonders which clause will break first. A Taino farmer walks to the beach before dawn and sees a forest of masts where yesterday there was only horizon. None of them asked for an epic. All of them paid for one. Now zoom out. A treaty line slices oceans. A capital grows fat on silver and wheat. Ports learn new rhythms. Words change. Converso, morisco, encomienda, asiento. The century will dress these words as policy. Under the cloth are hands and backs and names. Call it progress. Call it empire. Only do not refuse to count the cost. So, what would you have done that year? In Granada, would you celebrate or shiver? With the decree in hand, would you sign or resist? At the shoreline before dawn, would you row ashore or turn for home? Your answers are not only about the past, they are about us. When we debate borders, purity, safety, and gain, we rehearse old music. The chorus began in 1492 and the verses keep being written. Remember the leitmotif. Say the number again, 1492. Let it ring like a question. What do we prize? Whom do we protect? How do we balance curiosity with care, unity with mercy, courage with humility? History will not absolve us for refusing the hard math. If this moved you, join our community that revisits the past with rigor and empathy to read the present more honestly. Tell me in the comments which moment struck you, the key at Granada, the midsummer carts, the first shout of land. What would you ask those who lived this year? And what do you think the year asks of us? Subscribe, share with a friend who loves history, and come back for the next chapter. We will keep opening doors together, and we will keep counting the cost.